Okay, now the fun part. We're going to go ahead and introduce our panelists. I don't know if they're going to come up as they're introduced or... Okay, all right. So first, our moderators. My pleasure to introduce our panel of experts. They're going to speak on the transformative impact of AI for business. We'll start with our moderator, Deepthi Madhava. Diligence and investment sourcing at the Oregon Venture Fund. Deepthi is a partner at Oregon Venture Fund where she co-leads outreach and diligence for entrepreneurs looking for investment and leads diligent sprints. Diligent sprints? Okay. Prior to that, she served as strategy and operations senior manager for Deloitte, where she led strategic growth initiatives for Deloitte globally and their clients and markets organization and consulted CXOs and Fortune 1000 companies in developing and executing a range of business models and go-to-market strategies. She also serves on the board of Oregon Entrepreneurs Network, OEN. Growing up in the south of India, in an academic family, her everyday conversations revolved around science, curiosity, and research. She earned an MBA from the Indian School of Business, and a bachelor's degree in computer science and engineering. Deepthi, welcome. Our next panelist, Paul Tice, without his glasses, CEO of FiOR Innovations.
And I'm going to exchange. We'll do that.
Okay, you're doing this.
No, I'm going to sit in that place.
Okay, all right. So we'll finish with Paul here. So welcome, Paul, CEO of FiOR Innovations. Paul has over 20 years' experience building and leading technical teams on 3D projects with a focus on construction. Over the years, he's developed a passion for supporting construction technologists and 3D artists worldwide with educational materials on 3D software and hardware through LinkedIn Learning, industrial periodicals, and speaking at conferences. In 2020, Paul launched AI software company FiOR Innovations to support collaboration in the construction industry and provide enhanced safety for field workers. Please welcome Paul. Thank you. Okay, next we have, please welcome Andy Chu, Senior Vice President of Providence Digital Innovation Group. Andy serves as Senior Vice President of Product and Technology Incubation and is responsible for building world-class digital experiences for both consumers and caregivers at Providence and for incubating healthcare SaaS solutions that become commercial offerings for the broader healthcare ecosystem. And prior to Providence, Andy held a number of leadership roles in career management, travel, omni-channel commerce, search, consumer messaging, and enterprise software, including Microsoft, to bring customer-centric, innovative, and profitable solutions to the market. So please welcome Andy. Thank you. Okay, and last but not least, we have Fred Canney, co-founder, CFO, and COO at Archer. Fred is an operations and finance executive based in Bend. As co-founder of Archer, he's leading the development of next-generation deal sourcing and underwriting software for commercial real estate investors, brokers, and lenders. Prior to co-founding Archer, Fred worked for the world's largest gold mining company, Newmont Mining, where he held roles within the CFO and strategy finance divisions domestically and abroad, including roles such as the regional CFO, acting CFO for North America. Fred received his MBA from the Wharton Executive MBA program in San Francisco and was recognized with awards for his leadership there. So with that, Deepthi, I'll turn it over to you. Take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. I get the special seat here because this is closer to the questions. Panelists, welcome, and thank you for joining me here today in this panel discussion. I think very similar to what a lot of people answered in the poll question, I also use the enterprise version of ChatGPT for a lot of things that I do, from writing investment memos to summarizing notes. I think we are living in an explosive era. Explosive growth of AI is what we are all witnessing. And I'm very excited to learn and discuss more about what each of you is seeing in your respective industries, as potential applications for AI. All right, so to kick this off, I have a common question for all of you. Andy, I'll start with you. As a leader of an organization that incubates AI and technology ideas in healthcare, what excites you personally in AI applications in healthcare?
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me today. In general, artificial intelligence has been around for a long time. I think what's most exciting is the advancement that we have seen over the last couple of years. I think some of you, about 70% of you have used ChatGPT equivalent. In healthcare, we all are patients at the end of the day. In general, physicians are burning out. Our caregivers are burning out. There's a lot of work. So we're looking at technologies like artificial intelligence to actually augment their work. So the day-to-day mundane work can actually be offloaded to the AI and let our physicians, nurses, MAs to actually work on more human touch tasks that they can go do and actually deal with our patients. So that's actually the really, really exciting. It's just take all the grunt work away from human being and have them focusing on actually their patients.
Is there a tool that you professionally or personally use, AI tool?
Well, I use a number of them because my team, we actually build a lot of these products, so I need to figure it out, what's there, what's not. And we have built a number of products on top of it. The way we think about it, we essentially, at Providence, we're a fairly large health system. We've been focusing on 4 different areas. One area is our caregivers, internal, just like employees. So rather than our employees using ChatGPT, we actually build our own instance of GPT on top of OpenAI and Microsoft Azure. So the whole reason why we did that, so we can put the right guardrail in place, so PII information don't get leaked. That's a good example of that. Another piece, what we have been focusing on and what my team has been working on is patient-facing chatbot. So there's a lot of questions. You may all have billing questions when you go to your hospital, or you have questions related to your medications. So a lot of these questions, we don't need to have a care team to answer those questions. The bot can actually just answer it for you. You can get the immediate answer. So it's good for everybody. The third area is clinical workflow. So when you go see your primary care doctors, now they actually have a tool. They can actually chat with a bot, which we have developed internally. And we can help guide the doctor as almost like a co-pilot to help them to see if you need to get that referral or do you need to have, to do any other diagnosis. So that's another thing that we've been working on around clinical workflow. And then fourth, and the last piece is back office, from legal documentation to dealing with payers and everything in between. So those are the 4 areas that we're actively looking at.
Thank you. Paul, over to you. As a co-founder of a construction AI construction company, what excites you around applications of AI in construction industry? Yeah.
Robots. I love robots. I think the really interesting thing about our software and where the industry is going is autonomous sort of navigation through sites is becoming a thing, and that's done through AI. So you can take a robot now, and you can stick it in an environment and just say go, and it will figure out where to go in that environment. The other exciting thing is these robots, and also people are doing it too, but we're trying to automate that, is feature recognition. So when we go into a project site, a lot of times contractors and owners want to know how much data is being collected, how far along is the project, what's the project progress. And feature recognition is a technology where, sort of like computer vision, where the robot or the scanner or whatever kind of sensor technology is being used can say, I know exactly what that object is. I know it's a 3/4-inch pipe. I know, what it does, maybe the manufacturer. Like, it can start telling you those things and get those actionable insights. So now it's identifying walls, floors, pipes, MEP systems, and things like that. And now we need to put it to a dashboard. So that's where AI can help too, because it can get those analytics from these daily walks or these daily sweeps through the buildings in the construction world, and then give you a readout on how far along by a percentage the project is going. Are we behind schedule? Are we ahead of schedule? And you can also tie cost analytics into that as well. So it's a super fascinating field.
Yeah. Robots where humans cannot go. Exciting. Yeah.
Exactly.
Fred, as again a co-founder of AI-based real estate technology platform, what are you excited about applications of AI in real estate investing?
Yeah, thanks for having us here. I'm excited to talk through sort of how we're applying and the exciting things we're seeing in real estate. I think one of the things that I'm seeing, we're a fairly small company, eight people domestically, maybe 12 FTEs in total. But AI is really helping us compete with much larger groups. So we're seeing, from marketing materials, sales materials, putting together imagery that you would have to go pay somebody to put together, we're able to punch way above our weight as a small startup using ChatGPT and other AI tools to really help accelerate our teams. And I think the thing I'm really excited about when I think about real estate investing and brokers and lenders, and we, as a company, we help people underwrite properties, mostly multifamily properties, and do that very rapidly in seconds as opposed to 2.5 days of somebody's effort, is we can actually help groups. Like we have a customer who's a local 3-person shop here in Bend and in Portland, and they're investing and competing with the likes of Blackstone or BlackRock, some of these larger investors that have billions of dollars behind them. But using the smart application of AI and data, filling in the gaps in data to make smarter decisions, we're really helping level the playing field a little bit. And so I'm really excited to see where that heads.
I love that. I think it levels the playing field for sure for startups or large corporations. I recently read this McKinsey survey on state of AI in each of your industries, and I think all industries broadly. And healthcare is named as one of the early adopters of AI. Andy, this is a question for you. What are some of the drivers that are enabling healthcare to adopt the technology faster than some of the other industries?
Yeah, I think in healthcare, I don't think we have a choice. If you look at number of people coming to medicine, it's decreasing. Number of doctors are retiring, especially with COVID the last few years. We have seen increased number of doctors actually retired. So if you look at from a supply and demand standpoint, and even nurses, we've been talking about nursing shortage across the country for many, many years now. Now is really an acute problem. All the way down to medical assistant, right? So we train a lot of medical assistant every year, but they leave, right? So, and then we have to spend millions and tens of millions of dollars and recruit and bring them back. So the way we think about artificial intelligence is not so much around, it's a necessity because we want to help our existing workforce to be more productive, to take out the mundane tasks, like I mentioned earlier, and also help our patients. There are a lot of things that patient can actually do. All of us, we probably get this itch. You're like, the first thing you think of, you go to Dr. Google and type in whatever, and you may freak out, you may not, right? So we're like, hey, this is not right. So we should be able to help our patient, right? To not self-diagnose, but at least give you that calm and saying, hey, I'm not dying, it's okay. Right? So I think there's a lot of things that we can just use newer technologies to help consumers solve their problems, helping our clinicians solving their problems, and then really augmenting their task. And then really bringing, becoming a doctor or nurses, bringing the fun factor or why they come into medicine in the first place, which is about serving patients. So that's why I think there's a lot of excitement, especially given the new technology have been developing over the last couple of years. And that's why you see a lot of healthcare companies are jumping pretty aggressively in this space.
I think moving on to construction, construction industry has been known as the paper and pen industry for a very long time, right? Not an early adopter. But are there but even within our deal flow and Oregon Venture Fund, we are seeing a lot of startups that are trying to improve workflows for construction industry workers. Are there specific use cases that you are seeing that are getting fastly, adopted much faster than some of the other use cases in construction, especially for AI?
Yeah, absolutely. I think generative model design. So architects can go into the software, even Blender Game Engine, which is open source software. They can go in and do generative sort of design ideas, and they can get thousands of different ideas based on certain constraints and parameters of how they want their building to look. So it's a creative tool in a lot of ways. My job primarily is creating as-builts for construction, which a lot of you may glaze over right now at the word, but what it means is sort of creating a blueprint of the building, because a lot of contractors don't know what they have if it's an existing historical building, or the new buildings, we document those with sensors, scanners, drones from the ground up. Because a lot of times, things get installed in locations that aren't actually what the design intent was, and there's a lot of reasons for that, and I can't go into all that today, we'd be here for hours, but the idea here is we want to document that, and we want to do it quickly, and so what happens from that documentation, we give them data, and then they take that data and put it into a 3D model a lot of times. A Revit model, a BIM model, building information model. So these three-dimensional computer models so they can figure out how they're going to redesign the space or what they're going to do with an existing space or so forth. Well, the AI trend is now getting this data and segmenting point clouds or segmenting this laser scan or this as-built data in such a way intelligently that it can actually feature replace the model. So imagine you walk into a space with a phone. This is probably a little future, but it's actually starting to happen now. You just have your video and you walk around the space and it's creating an accurate 3D model of that space on the fly. You may have seen this kind of technology. But then in a moment, you can process it in the cloud, and then you can start designing right off of that model with accuracy. And you could do material takeoffs and know exactly how much quantities you have or need for that design, and all of these analytics. So it's just this really powerful, actionable insight tool.
Yeah, especially when you're looking at data in multiple formats or multiple modals and making sense of that. I think that's a great use case. Coming to real estate, I think when you go down that spectrum of industries that have adopted the technology to industries that are very slow in adopting, I think real estate is definitely an industry that would be in that bucket of slow adoption. So what are some of the challenges that you are seeing in selling your AI solution or even introducing AI technology to real estate developers?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Real estate has been on the lagging end of adoption for a lot of these advanced tools. And I think what we hear from customers and what we see is that a lot of groups have been burned by the promise of tech, and also tech companies coming into real estate saying, oh, we can fix what you do, right? Like it's out of date, it's old school, we know better, let's show you this great technology. And so one of the things that we're, similar to what Paul and Andy were sharing, we're really focused on real estate tools for real estate operators. We originally built the technology for ourselves to be a whole lot more efficient as an operator, to understand how operations should be performing, use big data to make better predictions about, is this property performing the way that it should, or could you do better? And then really arm people to use their expertise where it matters. So it's similar to what Andy was sharing around taking away the mundane work. A lot of what we do is data spread all over the place in real estate, and it's incomplete at best. I mean, 60% complete and you're in a good spot. And so we're taking that data and synthesizing, filling in the gaps, cleaning it, and then placing it at the fingertips of operators right where they need it, when they need it, with the insights they need. So similar to what Paul was sharing, getting those actionable insights drawn out of the data and then putting it right at your fingertips. And then that helps somebody really go back to what they love doing, which is, I want to operate this property. I want to make a smart investment. I want to know when I should exit this property or when I should pass it off to somebody else who can do better. So those are things that we're really helping arm people with. And the generative AI, as well as just smart machine learning and smart data capture, I think we can really just accelerate the industry and help people focus where their expertise is really needed, as opposed to all this mundane work that has to happen in order for them to be effective.
Yep, so we have opportunity for audience to ask questions as well, and believe there is going to be a QR code that's coming up on screen. So get your questions in, and we'll try our best to get most of them, if not all, answered in the next 10 minutes that we have. While we are queuing up audience questions, another question for all of you. How do you see the role of AI, or how do you see AI integrating into future of work in each of your industries? Fred, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so I really see generative AI, especially as we're thinking about language models and creation of content and the creative, really starting to replace some of the activities that we have to do by hand today. So think about it, I want to invest in a property, I need to write a memo to my investors, or I need to create an offering memorandum if I'm a broker, or do the loan servicing and monitor performance on a regular, ongoing basis. So we see AI, and we're starting to apply it in those spaces where you do your work to evaluate a property and then prompt the engine to say, hey, give me an investment scenario for Denver, or give me the economic background of what's happening in Central Oregon to help support my investment decision. And I really see that starting to come more to the forefront. We're seeing people start to scratch the surface. The other one for real estate really is document analysis and parsing. It's such a manual activity to take operating statements and rent rolls and lease documents and extract the important information. And so that's a natural application for natural language processing or more generative AI to really extract data and then make it useful.
So people doing less of mundane work and more of, work that they enjoy.
Completely.
Yeah. Yep. Paul, your thoughts?
In my industry, we have a team of people that go out with these 3D laser scanners or survey equipment, and they have to stand there, push a button, and wait for it to do its data collection, which can take minutes, many minutes. And you have to do that sometimes from multiple vantage points, maybe 100, 200, 300 vantage points. And if you can imagine the mind-numbing exercise of doing that process of standing around all day in maybe an open construction environment that's cold and windy and all that, it's kind of miserable. And so I think with AI, you can take away jobs that people don't really want to do anyway. So it's not really replacing people, it's augmenting it. And one application is, we're working towards creating robotics technicians. So you have one technician that goes out to a large construction project, and they're managing multiple robots that are going into the cold field and capturing this data and processing it and pushing that data back to them in the cloud so they can analyze it with a warm cup of coffee. So I think that's a really interesting application, and we're starting to see that come online as well.
Bringing back interesting work for people in the industry to do. Love it. Andy, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think in healthcare, as I mentioned earlier, I think from every aspect of it, from the person just greeting you when you walk into a hospital or clinic, they should be able to know who you are, what your insurance are, so you don't have to go fill out that form again. Let's just get rid of that. So we can do a lot of that. We're going to make a lot of progress on that front. All the way to essentially having a co-pilot helping doctors to do diagnosis. And because there's so much information coming in every week in the field of medicine, it's almost impossible for a human being to continue to keep up. So having that information at the fingertips of the doctor or the nurses while you are being treated, I think as a patient, I'll definitely feel better, right? It's not someone that hasn't looked at a medical journal for the last 20 years, but actually with the latest information. So like really, really mundane work, all the way to how people are being treated, all the way to look at, I think we were talking about radiology. Now radiologists are using artificial intelligence to help them look at breast cancer, lung cancer screening, so they can be more productive. Back to the point, we don't have enough radiologists across the country. So these are technology that we can use to actually help with their workflow. All the way to pathologies, which is like really, really hard using machine learning techniques to actually precisely find the problem in a cell. So it's super exciting. I can talk about this all day, but in the field of medicine, it's going to be fascinating over the next 5 years, the advancement we're going to see in this space.
Great. I think we have questions coming in here. Here's the first one. So I think knowing the importance of implementing AI into your business, but not knowing where to start, where would you suggest a small business owner hoping to scale begins? Maybe this is a good question for you, Paul.
Well, AI in some ways is just a really advanced form of automation. It can be. I mean, it does sort of think through things. Certain algorithms can think through things and come up with new ideas, which is really cool. But at the end of the day, we've been a small business for a long time and we've been growing. And I think the thing that we started with is we need to do one thing that takes forever and we need to do it really fast. So one quick example is we're working out at Woodburn Nursery remotely. So they have 200,000 azalea pots in the ground, and they need to know the center point of all those flower pots. How do you do that when there's 200,000 of them? Well, you could have a surveyor go out, and after about 3,333 hours and 4 months of time working nonstop without sleep, and $500,000 a budget, they can totally do that. Because it takes about a minute per spot to get a good, accurate GPS point. Or you could GPS it through a drone. So you could fly a drone and you could feature extract those center pots, the circles, it finds the circles, teach it to do that, find the center point, extract the lat long, and feed it to a large hedging machine that goes robotically and trims all of those automatically. So that's one extremely good application that costs less than $1,000 a month to do.
Amazing. Here's another one. I think this is an interesting one related to accuracy, which is thing that we hear commonly. So who or what organization will have authority to determine what is true with respect to AI-generated information? And I think this is an apt one for you in healthcare, Andy. Yeah.
That's a great question. So the White House just signed an executive order back in November around AI in healthcare. The FDA is actively looking at certain type of certification around how AI technology can be applied in medicine. It's a rapidly developing area. There's no centralized organization today to really do that. So the way how we are approaching this problem is that we have to put in the right guardrail in place. I think I mentioned, within Providence, we have developed our own ChatGPT equivalent. The main reason is we want to put the guardrail in place. So I think at least in the short term, I think a lot of even small, large enterprises, I think falls onto sort of the technology team to really help implement some of those things and then putting together platform processes to make sure things don't go haywire. In the case specifically, I talked about the chatbot that we have developed, which is patient-facing. We actually develop a whole infrastructure and processes. If something that detects something is wrong, an engineer actually get paged. We have a kill switch to turn off the bot. We also do it on a weekly basis. 20% of all the dialogues between the human and the bot is being audited. Now, we're a larger company. Well, my team is actually pretty small, but for small businesses, you probably can't do that, right? So I think that the key question is, you can apply it at places that may not be as high risk, right? I think Fred was talking about he's using it for marketing, sales. If you want to run a Facebook ad, you can use AI to do that, right? So I think you can start out small and testing it. And then as you go into the core operation, and stuff like, the stuff that I do in healthcare, there's a whole level of rigor that we have to put in place. And right now is self-monitor. So until, hopefully the federal government doesn't go too far to extreme, and all indication is they are not. They want to continue to fuel the innovation, but at the same time, we do need to have some guardrails.
Great. And maybe this is the last question, just given the time. This is another interesting one. Job creation is a key component of community development. How does AI support or hinder job growth or job creation? I think we were talking about this, Paul or Fred. Do you want to take that? Yeah.
Yeah, I can start. So when I think about job creation and AI, I feel like it's going to be something that is going to be prevalent in a lot of jobs. We're sort of at the cusp where we're starting to see, even from the survey earlier, a lot of people are experimenting with AI. They're starting to play with it, either sanctioned by their company or not. I think it's going to be absolutely an essential tool in the tool belt for folks over the next 10 years as this starts to become just a normal thing that we're used to using. I look at generative AI especially as, again, replacing those mundane tasks, helping you do a lot more with less. I mean, for a company like ours, 8 people domestically, maybe 4 people abroad, but we can operate like a company that looks like we have 30 or 40. And that's just a regular thing. So when we're working with customers, they're asking, how big are you really? And we're proud to say we're pretty small. But I think as we're building the company using these tools, we're building with higher value jobs, higher expertise jobs, and I think that's going to continue to be what we see, especially here in Central Oregon, where cost of living isn't exactly going down, and you've got a lot of remote jobs that are coming in. And so if we want to be able to foster development, obviously there are jobs that can't be relocated, where you physically need to be present at a property or at a facility. And then for a lot of other roles, it's going to be remote jobs that are able to be serviced from places like Central Oregon.
That's great. All right, I think that brings us to the end of this panel. I think AI is definitely an area that I feel like I'm learning every day, and things are changing so fast. And this was fascinating to hear from all of you on the impact that you all are seeing in varied industries, right? All right, I'll pass it back to you, Shannon.
Thanks,
Thank you all.
Deepthi.
Thank you.